We have a repeat guest for this Lyric That Truth podcast, and Brooke of Tommy and Brooke. I'm so excited to talk to you today because last week you were missing from us. You were in Africa, and tell me everything.
Everything from the beginning?
From the beginning,
okay.
Yes.
So it's like I'm not a re-guest because I feel like I'm a new person after I came back. I mean, there are so many things just that I saw that would make me a different person. But then there's the whole miracle part of what they do at Cure hospitals that makes me a new person as well. Does that make sense?
Yes. Because you were a little, now you've been very forthright with some of the health challenges that you had last year.
Yeah.
You're recovered from a stroke. That is a huge deal.
It's a huge deal. Yeah.
And traveling all the way to Africa is a huge deal. And you've got a lot going on with your family and some exciting things coming up with that.
A lot of things.
So how did you overcome all of those obstacles to actually decide, you know what, God, I'm going?
I left it up to God. I really did. When they first asked me if I wanted to go to Africa, I was like, no, thank you. I'm good staying here with all the things that you just mentioned. But I said, okay, what I'm going to do is I'm going to ask my doctors first. I ask my doctors. My doctor says, no problem. If you walk around in the airplane when your 15-hour flight every hour, you can go. If you get the right shots, you can go. I asked my daughter, who is expecting my first grandchild, okay, this is a month before your due date. Should I go? She said, okay. I asked my husband, the captain, and he said, it's okay. So I kind of felt like I left it up to God.
Yeah.
Because all those different things, the doors just never shut.
I think that's a really good point. If other people are listening and they're making a big decision and all they see in front of them is obstacles, and just go, okay, God, open the door and I'm going to walk through it. If that one opens and that one opens and that one opens.
And isn't that tricky though? Because you feel like if there is an obstacle, you think, okay, Lord, am I supposed to overcome that? Am I supposed to push through? Am I supposed to trust you even more? So that's a really tricky road to walk, but I kind of just walk through.
Where would you be sitting today if you did not overcome those obstacles and go?
I'd probably be laying in my bed.
Yeah.
There's just it's so much easier to just stay home and not do stuff, right?
Yes, it is. I totally hear that. So you got on that plane and where did you fly to and what was your mission when you were there?
So went from Grand Rapids to Atlanta to Johannesburg, which was a 15-hour flight, which I was not excited about. The furthest I've ever been away from home, I would say. And then Johannesburg to a little town called Bulawayo, Africa, Zimbabwe. So
Zimbabwe.
So
from Johannesburg to Zimbabwe.
Correct. To Bulawayo.
And it took you an entire day to get there?
Yeah. I left on Saturday. We got there Sunday night, I think. So, and then had another flight on Monday to Bulawayo. And that's where there is a Cure Children's Hospital. And if you don't know what Cure hospitals are for children, it is basically a miracle center. They have these surgeons there that do surgery for kiddos, and it's at no cost to them. Whether they have a cleft lip or a club foot, different kind of orthopedic situations, they make them all new.
These are things that in America are very easily dealt with, but in Africa, not only can they not afford to provide these surgeries for their kids, it really causes them social ostracization.
Yeah.
So it's kind of it's really, really tough for a child in Africa to be born with a clubfoot.
And for their parents, because they feel like they did something wrong because all of their neighbors tell them, you must have done something wrong, which is why your child has this clubfoot.
Oh, so you went to the hospital. Did you meet the surgeons? Did you meet the families? What was that like?
All of the above. So we went to the hospital. First of all, it was such a beautiful hospital. Everything in the area in Africa is very green and brown and dirt. And this hospital is white with pillars. It just looks so welcoming. And it's not just the building, but the staff. From the first moment that we walked in, there were smiles. Everybody was so happy. I really expected it to be kind of a bummer of a place. Does that make sense? Because you're going into
a hospital.
A hospital.
Yeah. In Africa.
Yeah. Yeah. And you're thinking, okay, this isn't going to be very fun. It's not going to be very uplifting. But I'm telling you, from the moment I walked in and I saw the families as they were waiting to be seen to see if there was something they could do or how far out on the calendar, because there's a waiting list that is thousands of children long. And then I met the surgeons, and I've had some experience with surgeons because my son was always in the hospital. He had several collapsed lungs, and we would go in and the surgeon would see you for about 35, 40 seconds and then take you into surgery, wheel you in there and get you out. And so
Because time is money, baby.
Correct. They could bring the next person in.
Yeah.
And not once did any of those surgeons, nothing against them, but they didn't pray over my child. The people that were checking us in didn't pray over my child. There wasn't a worship service in the operating room, but this all happens at Cure International Hospital.
Now, you shared a clip with me of people worshiping that we're going to play right now. This was at the hospital that you heard this?
This was at the hospital, and it goes even beyond that. I have to tell you about that story.
Okay. We'll play that now.
Do you love the Lord? Do you love the Lord? Yes, we love the Lord. Do you love the Lord? Do we love the Lord? Yes, we love the Lord.
So let me set up this. It was a circle of women who were the parents of these children that are going through surgery, that have just come out of surgery, that are waiting to have surgery. And the women are all in a circle. And it's mostly women because the dads don't come. A lot of times the dads will just leave, say, I can't handle this child and I'm just going to leave you. And they move on to someone else. This is just kind of how it is culturally there. Yeah. So the women are in the circle and there's a worship leader, which you just heard, and he is singing. And he has a ball in his hand and he's kind of dancing. And then when he throws the ball to one of these moms, they have to say something that they're sad about. And the things that they're sad about, for us, the price of eggs might be something we're sad about. But for them, it could be a woman that said, my mom told me to get rid of this child. And I just walked as far as I could till I got to the Cure Hospital so that somebody could help them because I didn't want to dispose of my child. I know that's very, very sad. And so then we would all be kind of sitting there and we would go, wow. And then all of a sudden, the worship leader would start singing again. Do you love God? Does God love you? And it just kind of turns everything around. And that to me was one of the most beautiful days. It was one of the most beautiful days. And it just makes you kind of feel like I don't have problems.
Right.
What am I complaining about?
What am I sad about?
Yeah.
I mean, it's okay to be sad, but it's also a good perspective.
Yeah.
Of really a depth of sadness in a culture.
Correct.
Which has bad theology, first of all, of that your child was born with a cleft palate because you did something wrong.
Correct.
And then to be mostly single moms raising these kiddos with special needs.
And a lot of them have other kids that they have to bring to the hospital with them.
Yeah.
But a lot of times this is the most beautiful place and such a peaceful place for them because their home is nothing like this. They don't have a playground. They don't have people that are telling them Bible stories and playing with them. They don't have people even that would look them in the eye. And so to me, that was one of the most special things.
So they get respect.
Yes,
as a human.
Exactly. And when they were in this orientation room and they're coming into the hospital, they're just kind of sitting there scared, the parents and the kids. And I would ask, okay, what's your child's name? And so many of the names just gripped my heart because the parents said, his name is Thank God. His name is Thank God. They name their children what they want them to be. There was another child named Blessed. There was another child named Perfect. There was another child named Love More. I just love these names.
I should have named my children that.
Yes, exactly. Exactly. Mine was more patience, right? But it's just such a beautiful thing to meet the families.
Gosh.
Yeah.
What kinds of surgeries were they doing at that hospital that day? Or what did they talk about were some kind of typical surgeries?
So there was a little girl. Her name is Thelma. And she, at 10 months old, had been burned so badly that her arms and her hands had constricted. So her hands were pulled backwards, her elbows were pulled in, but she loved to draw. So she would take a pen or a crayon and draw on a paper with her two bottom of her hands pushed together. So she's now 7 years old. She's been living like this for all of her life. People think something's wrong with her. In America, those kinds of surgeries would have happened right away.
Right.
We would have made them better and not make them look like not a normal child. And so the doctor was actually doing that surgery, one of her surgeries, when we walked into the operating room, which I didn't know I could stomach, but somehow I did. I think God helped me through that. But he was actually taking and peeling back her hand and kind of stretching things out, stretching her elbow out so that she could. And he said to me, the surgeon turned around in the middle of the surgery and he says to me, I really hope that she's still as good of an artist after what I'm doing, because he didn't want to take that away from her, because she had learned to draw that way.
Yeah.
And I just thought, these surgeons care.
Yeah.
They really care what they're doing.
Yeah.
And so that was one of the surgeries that we looked in on, and it was just, I couldn't look. I couldn't not look.
Yeah.
And so then that was on Tuesday when we went in there. We went back to the hospital on Friday before we left. And that little girl, Thelma, was in her bed. She looked up at us and we asked her if she was in any pain. She said, "No, I'm not in any pain." And we said, "Are you up and moving around?" She got out of bed and she went outside and went to the playground, and we pushed her in the swing. It just was, to me, full circle when you see this whole picture of the kids coming in, going through surgery, and then playing on the playground. It does make me think a little bit about our children, and they're kind of babies. I mean, these
are serious obstacles
Correct.
that they've had to overcome.
And she wants to go out there and play, and our kids are like, "No, I just want to stay and play video games."
Video games. Oh my word.
Yeah, it was a beautiful thing. It was a beautiful thing.
So they're doing the aftermath of burns. And so it's not just physical deformities that the kids are born with, it's just all kinds of things which like, again, here would just get dealt with very, very quickly. I'm not going to get into the big like insurance situation we have in, the United States or anything.
Best.
Yeah. Right. Because it's broken. We have a broken system.
Yeah.
No matter which way you kind of look at it. But how does it work? The cure hospitals, do you know off the top of your head how many cure hospitals there are in Africa?
So in Africa, no, I know there's a total of 8 or 9, I think, because they have some in the Philippines. They have some in a couple of other places. I'm not sure how many are in Africa. But so the insurance thing, most people don't have insurance because unemployment is so high in Africa, and their wage is just nothing. So they couldn't afford it. So a lot of times when somebody will tell them about cure hospitals and then they come in, they're waiting for that bill. They're waiting. They're like, "Are you sure it's not going to cost me anything? Are you sure?" And we're like, people in West Michigan wanted you to have this surgery, wanted your family to be whole, and wanted you to learn about God and that he's the great physician and that he paid a price so that you didn't have to. It's just such a...
So they tie it in spiritually.
Correct.
Because when we talk about this, like on the radio, we'll say an average surgery costs about, is it $2,000 or $1,000?
$1,000.
$1,000.
Yeah.
Because I know that the hospitals are like debt free.
Yeah.
And then they pay their surgeons very well, but
Correct.
it's a wage that would be well in an African country or Philippines.
Sure.
And so average surgeries are $1,000. So when we're on the air saying for $1,000, you can provide a surgery for a child like Thelma, I think that's kind of hard to wrap our minds around that that's really true.
But I saw it.
Yeah.
I saw it. I was in the operating room. I saw the anesthesiologist, the anesthesiologist's assistant. I saw the surgeon. I saw the surgeon's assistant. I saw nurses getting ready to pack things up and put bandages on. So there was probably 5 or 6 people in this operating room. They all were paid. They all were happy. They all were singing and praying over this child.
And Thelma is in bed on Monday, and then you're pushing her in the swing on Friday?
Yeah. It was an incredible thing.
For $1,000.
For $1,000. And it's like you can't throw your money at it fast enough.
Sure. Sure.
So let me tell you this one story too about this little girl named Courtney.
Mm-hmm.
She was born and her parents noticed that her left eye was getting bigger and bigger.
Mm.
And so they found that there was a tumor
Mhm.
behind her eye. And so they looked all over for a hospital that could help her. They found one that would remove the tumor. So they removed the tumor and they started getting the bills from that. They started getting the bills. They couldn't pay the bills. They couldn't pay the bills. They came, they took their car. They came and they took their house. And the father said to us, he said, I don't care. This is my little girl. I'm
Right.
happy that that tumor is gone.
As any parent would.
Correct.
Take it all.
So they took the tumor, but the rest of her face kept kind of growing. So her face was kind of sagging,
Mhm.
and they wouldn't do that part. They were only taking the tumor out. So she still was kind of ostracized in her school, really strong girl, but
Mhm.
she actually said, you know what, this is the way God made me and I'm going to push through. Christian family. So they found Cure. Somebody told them about Cure and they said, really? But what are the bills going to be? Because we don't want to lose our house again and our home again and our cars, etc. And they said, it's absolutely free. We're going to fix Courtney and we're going to make her just, she is beautiful in our eyes and in God's eyes already, but we're going to make her be more beautiful for other people. And they did that. And the father broke down telling us the story. He was just so grateful. It just gave me chills because I just thought, these people, they don't believe that this is not going to cost them anything.
Especially after going through an experience like they went through when
Correct.
they took everything from them.
So then now they're walking through town with their daughter and they're seeing children that need the Cure Hospital and they're telling them, look, this is what happened. Mm-hmm. My daughter looks like this now and we didn't have to pay a penny. And people don't believe them. Mm-hmm. They don't believe them because it's just like, with even seeing, they don't believe. And there's some biblical lessons in that too.
You've seen and you still don't believe.
Correct. Are you so dull?
Yeah. So the more funding that Cure gets from West Michigan, the more surgeries they can provide, the more of those kids in the street that are being told there's a place that can help you.
Well, what if you think about it this way, say there's 10 kids in the waiting room and that's $10,000. So we ask you at Joy 99, please, could you give $1,000? And we have 10 people that do that. Well, unfortunately, there's 30,000 children that are still in the waiting room. So that's why we keep asking for money. And we say, okay, the next surgery can happen. They are ready. They've got the surgeons in place. They've got the everything that they need to have as far as the hospital goes in place. They just need the funding to get these children back to good.
I've also heard stories that families will walk to the hospital for days to get there. They don't let any obstacle in their way.
No. Would you?
No.
If it was your child?
No, I wouldn't.
You would say, I'm just going to go. This one mother that we met, she had been walking and this bus actually saw her. And they said, where are you going? You're just walking with your child. She said, my family told me to leave with this child and I'm just walking until I can find a Cure hospital. So she had left her village and she was just walking. So the bus driver said, I'm here for such a time as this. I'm going to pick her up and I'm going to take her to the Cure hospital. So she just
started walking to the hospital.
Just started walking to the hospital.
That was the thing that was going to heal her child.
That's faith. I mean, she didn't even know what she was walking toward really, but now her life is forever changed.
It kind of makes me think about a conversation I had with my husband, Dave, last week. We had really bad snow in the area and there's kind of a standing prayer meeting and the roads were snowy. And so a bunch of people were kind of texting in like, we're going to cancel the prayer meeting. We're going to cancel the prayer meeting. And Dave is like, do they know what people overcome to get to a prayer meeting? do they know like what people wouldn't give to have the opportunity to gather with other believers and to pray? Like, no, we're having it. You don't want to come, that's fine. But like, let's not let a little West Michigan snow prevent us from, the gospel.
It's true. I think we're kind of babies up here. We really are.
And you kind of saw that firsthand. So
I
you're
saw
you're
it firsthand.
acutely feeling it because you just witnessed that. A lady just, hey, Kira's going to heal your child. She just takes off. I would too.
She's like, I'm just going to walk here and see what I can find out. And
Did she even know where the Kira hospital was?
she obviously didn't because she was on the wrong road, but the bus took her there. So it worked out. But it was just amazing to see that faith. They're like, I'm just going to go and trust that this is going to be there to help my child.
Unbelievable.
I mean, that's a parent's love, right?
Yeah.
And I just love that while they're there, the whole family learns about God. We were in this room, the playroom, where they were doing an old-fashioned flannel graph, and it was quite
For
intense.
real?
I loved it. It was all about Adam and Eve and how God created the animals, and the storyteller would ask, okay, what kind of animals are there, and what sounds do they make? And she was asking all the children, and it was just so
Wait,
cute.
they're having Sunday school up in the hospital?
Correct.
And this is for the siblings
Correct. The siblings, the kiddos, the parents. Yeah.
How brilliant is that?
Not once did that happen when I went in for surgery for my son.
No.
Not one time.
There was no flannel graphs.
But they give them an opportunity to tell them that God created all these things for you. And they're like, for me, I've been told all my life that I'm not precious, that I'm not worthy, that I am nothing, that I should be hidden under a rock and
not allowed to go to school.
Not allowed to
not
go to
allowed
school.
to interact with other kids.
Don't play with other kids, and they're not going to look you in the eye. And I just loved that they kind of told them how precious they were. And they give an opportunity in that little class that we were in for anybody to come to know Jesus. And one mother that was right in front of me raised her hand and she said, I want to know more about Jesus. And I just got chills, sorry, when I said that. And so they equip her, they pray over her, give her a Bible, and they connect her with a church. It's not just like, okay, good, we've got a number. We can
check the box or whatever, keep a tally. It's like really investing in her to be able to continue to grow.
And then what she's going to do when she goes back to her village is she's going to tell everybody about cure and about God. And
this is beautiful.
Isn't it beautiful? This is why they exist.
Take my money.
Woo, 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 woo,
right?
Yeah,
right?
exactly.
Well, like you said earlier, who wouldn't give to that?
It is Jesus on earth. I mean, he would walk around and heal people in Jesus' name. And it's just kind of what he did. So why not?
And God is healing people through Kier Hospital. They're getting healed of their physical ailments. Meanwhile, their siblings and their mom is getting introduced to Jesus.
Correct.
Takes it back to the entire village.
And I think that a lot of us would not get on that plane, not go fly 15 hours, 17 hours coming back, but you can give. And one of the surgeons told us, he said, it's about $1,000 for surgery, but don't let people think that they have to give $1,000, even if they can give $25, if they can give $100. He said, see these cotton balls right here? These are hard to come by. These Q-tips, they're hard to come by. Bandages, all the supplies that they have. So if you're thinking, I could never give $1,000, give what you can, pray about it, and
give some Q-tips.
Yeah, God
some
will do the rest.
That's true, because there's a whole lot of supplies that are needed too. That's a really good point.
Yeah, and it came from a surgeon, so he knows.
Really,
he knows.
What did God do? You said it felt like you were able to witness miracles, but what was the miracle that happened in your heart through all of it?
Well, I think part of it being so reluctant to go, being so fearful to go. And I think that I knew that the doctors said I could go, but I didn't know if I could do it.
Yeah.
I didn't trust myself, and I couldn't. There's no way that I could. But God, he allowed me to go. He made everything work out. I didn't get sick. There was one part of their trip where we went on to a little kind of safari. We went seeing some black and white rhinos, and there was this beautiful kind of mountain, and everybody was going up there to see the sunset. And I was like, I can't do it. You guys, I can't. I'm just going to stay down here. Everybody else is climbing and climbing. And I said, I don't really think that I can do it. And they said, it's okay if you don't want to go, but if you can, go. And I really didn't think I could. And next thing I know, I'm up at the top watching the sunset. And I think that seeing God from that angle was not just seeing a beautiful sunset, but it was seeing that when you trust, how far you can go.
Thank you for going.
I'm so glad I did.
Cure is something we talk about throughout the year on the radio. It is an organization we all love, but I think there's a different way to fall in love with it when you see it firsthand.
Absolutely.
And it's the taste and the smell and the sound and the people, and your passion for it just grows. Like, I'm passionate about it as an idea, but to see the passion that you've come back with is really inspirational.
It's a gift. I really think that it was a gift for me to be able to go and come back with that and think there's not a better place I could give my money. There's really not.
And maybe someone's tuning in and looking at some obstacles that are in their way and thinking they just can't do that thing that God's calling them to do. And it's like, open the door. And if, you're supposed to walk through it, God will guide you through it. Keep opening the doors.
And keep praying about it. Because you got to trust him and pray and pray and pray, and he'll lead you through.
Thanks for listening to today's episode of This Lyric, That Truth. If you were inspired by today's conversation, feel free to share it with a friend and leave a 5-star review. If you're looking for more hope and encouragement in your music, download the Joy Media mobile app for free wherever you download your apps. I'm Ceci, and I so look forward to sharing more in-depth conversations with you as we talk about the lyrics that encourage us and shape our lives. Meet me back here next week for another episode of This Lyric, That Truth.